The Banished Shadow, Wilfre, will be the second addition to the series that I like to call Scribbled Smash. For a rundown of the character, Wilfre is the main villain from a series called Drawn to Life. Will I do the main hero from Drawn to Life? Well, not in the foreseeable future. Well, at least right now. Back to Wilfre, I freaking love their character. They're such a great villain. Great writing, solid threat, and the only real gripe I have with them is their boss fights are stupidly underwhelming. But other than that, they're an amazing character. On to the stats. For the stats, Wilfre would be a middleweight character, but on the lighter side of the spectrum. They would have 2 jumps and no additional movement options. I should probably explain the gimmick too, since they'll be integral to the rest of the moveset. Let me just go grab the Etch-a-Sketch. Okay, jumping ahead a little bit, the neutral special will have Wilfre hold up their scepter and the reticle would appear. The area where the reticle is would slowly lose color. And where would that color go? Well, it would go into the color gauge in Wilfre's HUD. Certain attacks will use up color, and you have up to 100 color in total. Back to the neutral special itself, you can hold out the reticle for as long as you like, but you probably shouldn't do it for too long since you are a sitting duck while sucking up color. This, paired with the substantial amount of end leg, will make it so you don't use this move too often. But you also start the match and new stocks with 50 color, so you are going to have to use this move a bit. For the jab, Wilfre would do a simple swipe of their fist. It would do pretty damage, and it would have terrible range thanks to Wilfre's little stub arms. This wouldn't be a reference to anything, it's just referencing, you know, them killing one of the main character's fathers. On screen? Well, there isn't any blood or anything, but still. E for everyone, baby! The forward tilt would have Wilfre poke out their scepter, doing pretty good damage, but having a sweet spot on the gem. Speaking of, what was it that they used at the end of the scepter? I've always thought of it like a gem, but it squirms whenever Wilfre uses it. Let's just say it's a gem and move on. The up tilt would have Wilfre wave the scepter upwards, similar to the villager's up tilt. The down tilt would have Wilfre kick downwards, sending whoever was hit by it upwards. And for their dash attack, Wilfre would slide on the ground like it's slippery and then shoulder check the opponent. The forward smash would have Wilfre hold their scepter back while multiple trines start to appear behind them. Then Wilfre would point the scepter outward, to which the trines would rush forward a fair distance. The Upstash would be the first move to use color. At the cost of 10 color, Wilfre would hold up their scepter, and then a huge tornado would appear behind them. The tornado itself would do huge damage and have a slight sucking effect to it. The down smash would be the second move to use of color. At the cost of 5 color, 2 clouds would appear above Wilfre, then they would shoot lightning down. The shockwave and the lightning bolts would stun opponents for a very short amount of time. And as for the damage itself, it does pretty good damage, but very, very, very bad knockback. The neutral air would have Wilfre summon 3 tridents, then they would shoot out. They would go out for a bit, and then they would cease to exist. The forward air would have Wilfre poke out with their scepter, yet again having a sweet spot where the gem is. For the back air, Wilfre would summon 2 tridents behind them, to which they would shoot out, punching similarly to the neutral air. The up air would have a shadow bat appear above Wilfre. They would flap their wings once and then disappear. This would stall Wilfre's fall for a bit. Finally, the down air would come at the cost of 5 color, and would have Wilfre shoot a spectrum beam downwards. It wouldn't shoot out too far, but it would do impressive damage for a down air, and also meteor for good measure. For the grab, Wilfre would grasp the opponent with their left hand, and their pommel would be smacking the opponent with the scepter. Thanks to Wilfre's stub hands, the grab would have terrible range. The forward throw would have Shadow Goop appear below the opponent, holding them in place. Then, Wilfre would hold the scepter like a baseball bat and smack the opponent away. Judging by the doodle, this would be a kill throw. The back throw would have Wilfre throw the opponent behind them, and then poke them with the scepter for some extra damage, and putting the little training dummy through the most pain they've ever been through, thus far. They will go through much more painful things in the future. I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not. The up throw would have Wilfre throw the opponent up, and then a tornado would send them further upwards. For the down throw, Wilfre would throw the opponent into some shadow goo. Then he will chuckle to himself, while the opponent slowly sinks into the goop. Then they will be launched out since Smash Physics. For a recap, the neutral special creates a reticle that refills the color meter. Easy, now for the other specials. For the side special, at the cost of 70 color, Jesus Christ, Wilfre would make use of the Spectrum Beam. I should have probably used this thing more, but whatever. After a pretty long startup, Wilfre would shoot a pretty big, multicolored laser, which does great damage and, knockback. Coming at the cost of 20 color, Wilfre would make use of a portal. It would be your standard teleporting special. Is what I would have said in an alternate universe. You see, once Wilfre finishes teleporting, a vortex would appear where Wilfre came from. This vortex would suck opponents into it, functioning like a nerfed black hole item. Down special time! Down special time! It's now time for down special time! Coming at the cost of 30 color, Wilfre would shoot out a glob of darkness, which was splat onto the ground. Opponents that try to walk into the darkness pit would be slowed down a lot, but you could attack to destroy it. It only needs around 50 damage before it explodes. Now what does this glob of do? Well, you can only have one on the stage at a time, and there's a 20-second cooldown. You know these down specials have more to them than that, right? Well, let's get that one over with. If you press down special again, well, you would summon a shadow being. Even though these beings are only actual enemies in the first Drawn to Life game, they were created by Wilfre himself, so why wouldn't I include them in this moveset? If you simply tap down special again, Wilfre would summon a single shadow bat onto the arena. It would fly around aimlessly and attack whoever's closest that isn't Wilfre. They cost 8 color to summon, and they only take around 5% damage to kill. If you hold down the button for around 1 to 3 seconds, and you sacrifice 13 color, you would summon a Shadow Walker. They would wander around and attack whoever's nearest. However, they would only be grounded and they cannot jump. But for compensation, they take 25% damage to kill, and they hit a bit harder than the Shadow Bats. Now if you hold down the button for around 4 to 6 seconds, you would summon a Shadow Ghoul. Think the Shadow Bat and the Shadow Walker, and then combine them. They would take 30 color to summon, and they would take 30% to kill. And if you somehow don't get hit for 7 seconds straight, you would summon a Shadow Golem. They wouldn't be able to fly, but they would be big, hard-hitting, and tanky, taking 50% of damage to die. But of course, the downsides explain themselves. They take 50 color to summon, and they are also very heavy, so if you just kinda knock them off the stage, they will die! The final smash would have Wilfre summon a portal, and everyone close to it would be sucked in. The cinematic starts with the fires being a page in the book, that book being the Book of Life. And what do you know, Wilfre just happens to have that such book. And they start ripping it to shreds. And the pages would be thrown into a glob of shadow. Back to the fighters, they're covered in darkness and would be attacked by other dark creatures. The final launch hit would be a huge lightning bolt from the sky, ending the cinematic. If you're at 100% plus damage when the cinematic ends, you would just die! You see the playstyle I have for them? Wilfre will want their opponent to be away from them, relying on their underlings to do any sort of launching damage. But if you can get up close to him, you'll be good. You can beat him. This dream will be over. Wait, I still need to do the other stuff. Crap! The up taunt would have Wilfre laugh to themselves. The side taunt would have Wilfre point their scepter at the opponent, while saying, "Challenging me was a huge mistake." Oh no, it's you again. Okay, fine. I'll do the other stuff in the stream or something, I don't know. And stay out! Finally, the down taunt would have a mini Shadow Walker appear from nowhere, look all confused, and then just phase out of existence, while Wilfre looks done with this sort of thing. Just like how I'm done with that stupid sandwich. The first victory animation of Wilfre sitting in their ultimate creation and then laugh to himself. The next victory animation we have the entire result screen just desaturated, with shadow creatures roaming around, and Wilfre just stands there cackling to himself. And the final would have the second place fighter already inside a shadow cage, and then the fighter would be sent up and away. The first art would have Wilfre don their usual purple colors. The next would be gray, with a darker gray body, a hat, and then half of a mask. This would reference Salem, Wilfre's pretty obvious alter ego. The third would be orange, with a yellow body, red overalls, and a sock on top of their head. This should be a reference to Sock, their not so obvious alter ego. Wilfre, why are you like this? Anyways, the fourth art would have Wilfre don light orange colors, a dark gray body, and red sort of hair. This would be a reference to Cersei, Wilfre's lover that may or may not have tricked everyone to try to revive him. Wait, lovers, February, Valentine's Day? This video is hopefully coming out in February. Wait, this means I'm on brand! What?! The fifth art would have Wilfre be gray with a blue body. This would be a reference to Wilfre before they got, all encased in shadow and stuff. The sixth art would be blue with a red-ish body. This would be a reference to Frostwind, the first boss you face in the first Drawn to Life game. The seventh alt would be green with some brown thrown in there also. This would be a reference to the second boss of the original Drawn to Life, Redwood. And the final alt would be red with sort of dark blue sprinkled on their back. This would be a reference to the Scorpion Wilfre just randomly gets. Well, I'm not complaining, makes my job easier. Wilfre's classic mode would be called Shadow Showdown. The first fight would be against Ness, then Inkling, then Mario and Luigi, then against Link and Zelda, then Simon and Richter, finally Kirby, Meta Knight, and DD. Then there would be a bonus game, and the final fight would be against Crazy Hand, and only Crazy Hand. Why? I don't know, I thought it would be cool. Some people could say that the best choice for a Drawn to Life stage would be Turtle Rock, and I 100% agree. So this is why Wilfre's stage will be the Dark Hallway. Wilfre isn't here to represent Drawn to Life, they're here to be Wilfre. Yes, I know some of the boss health bar is still there. I do not care. Onto the stage, it would be your standard walk-off stage with breakable walls. I could see some shadows coming in and being a nuisance, and god, you could cameo a lot of characters in here, but those are just some ideas. Now for the spirits. The first spirit would be a Baki. They would be a novice spirit represented by gameplay colored Kirby on Green Hill Zone, and they would give a boost to your dash attack. Next would be a Shadow Bat. This would be a novice grab spirit represented by a horde of black Falcos on Umbra Clock Tower. They would give you higher jumps. Next spirit would be against Shadow Goo. This would be an advanced support spirit, and it would have you go up against Black Kirby with Poison Floor. This stage would be Dracula's Castle, and they would give you Magic Resist Plus. Moving on, the next spirit would be a Shadow Fountain. It would be an Ace Defense spirit, represented by a Game & Watch with a Steel Diver. You would fight on Summit, and they would give a buff to your neutral special. And the final spirit would be against a Shadow Walker. It would be an Ace Attack Spirit represented by 3 purple Luigis on Luigi's Mansion, with all their magic attacks buffed. Once you beat them, you get Fire/Explosion attack increase, but they can be enhanced into a Shadow Ghoul. Not only do you get the buffs that the Shadow Walker already had, but you also get Impact Run. And that's all for Wilfre's Scribbled Smash. As you can probably tell from the intro to this video, I absolutely adore Wilfre. Their design, their moves, their personalities, all of it is great. Anyways, if you have an idea that I could do in the future, put it in the comments below and I might take a crack at it. That's all this video. God, this was a pain to make.